I've been on a journey, so it's called Seat at the Table. It's an 11-part series for YouTube Originals. I've been travelling from the very southern tip of the UK, from the Scilly Isles, all the way up to the Orkney Isles, which is the most northern tip, trying to understand climate change, meeting people who are on the front lines, and that's people who are being affected by the climate crisis, but also people coming up with amazing solutions. And I've been connecting with people all around the world as well.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me a little about the Scilly Isles, because I had never thought that those islands would be affected by climate change, but you've also been talking to the people in the Maldives,
yes,
who we know there's terrible problems there, and there is a similarity between the two situations.
Completely. So there's so many aspects of the climate crisis, but sea level rise is one of them. It's one we hear quite a lot about. And the same as you, I never thought sea level rise would affect the UK. I didn't think about it as a problem that we experience here in the UK, but the Isles of Scilly are under threat from rising sea levels. And I don't know if you've ever been to the Isles of Scilly. They're incredible. They look like some sort of tropical island, sandy beaches, but they're under threat from rising sea levels, and the same as the Maldives. So I met an amazing actress called Myla in the Isles of Scilly, who's raising awareness. She's known as the Greta Thunberg of the Isles of Scilly. And I also spoke with Aisha in the Maldives, who has been campaigning for change there. And I guess the point of the show is to highlight that every single one of us will be impacted by climate breakdown, but not equally. You know, it disproportionately affects people living in the global south, and that's really the aim of the show, is to try and humanise this crisis a little bit.
And you had a chat with David Attenborough in the first episode. I'll ask you about that in a moment. Should we have a little look at it?
Sure, that'd be fantastic.
Here is Mr. Attenborough.
So David Attenborough is the reason that I wanted to get into this in the first place. He's my hero, he's the guy I grew up watching, and he's an icon in this space, and so I feel like there's no better person to kick off our series. It's a big day. At the end of this year, 190 world leaders will gather together at COP26 in Glasgow. Do you think this event can be a catalyst for change?
I have to believe that is a possibility. And in fairness, I believe that really is a possibility, a strong possibility. And I have to believe that because I think it's probably our last chance.
What was it like having a sit down and a chinwag with him?
I mean, absolutely terrifying, but amazing at the same time. You know, he, like many people my age, he was my hero growing up. He's the master communicator when it comes to the natural world and the environment. And it was just an incredible experience to be able to sit down face to face with him and speak to him. That said, a little bit devastating at the same time. You know, he is the person who caused us to fall in love with the environment, showed us the abundance of the natural world, and now he's taking a very different role, sounding the alarm of climate destruction and ecosystem collapse. And it's pretty confronting, but also sort of invigorating to hear from him firsthand.
It must be inspirational, because he is not on the fence, is he, in any way?
No, he's not on the fence. You know, he has seen more of the natural world than most people, and I think he feels a huge responsibility to sound the alarm, and it feels as though a little bit like he's sort of passing the baton on to the next generation. And, you know, all around the world, young people are rising up to this challenge, and that's what gives me hope.
I think sometimes when you hear about climate change, and I know we talk about it a lot at the moment, but it can feel quite abstract to some people. I think what your programme does is it tells personal stories. And was that part of the plan, to make us think about how it impacts on individuals and on communities, and therefore, you know, you think about your own life and your own perspective?
That's absolutely the idea. I totally agree. For me, learning about climate change, I found it very intimidating, very overwhelming. It's often confused by graphs and numbers about things happening in faraway places. It's hard to understand how it impacts us and our lives. And really, this show is about reframing the climate crisis as not just an environmental issue, but an issue of human rights and social justice. You know, this is an issue that affects people. And we hear a lot about saving the planet, but that's not what's at stake here. What's at stake is human well-being and the well-being of all the life we share this planet with, you know. And so climate breakdown affects every single one of us. But the main point the show tries to make is that it's not equal. You know, so there's the incredible activist Vanessa Nakate, who has this quote, and she says, "Well, we're all facing the same storm, not all of us are in the same boat." And what she means by that is, if you take the UK, for example, because of where we're located geographically, the effects of climate breakdown won't be as severe here as they will in the global south, you know, in countries that are closer to the equator. And because we're a wealthy country, because of our history of industrialisation and colonisation to some degree, we'll have the resources to adapt and to build resilience. But countries in the global south, they won't. They are disproportionately affected by this issue, and they're on the front lines. And so as an industrialised nation, indeed as the country that kick-started the Industrial Revolution, we have a responsibility not only to take action on climate change, but to support the countries that are on the front lines of this issue. And in this crucial year, COP26 is on our doorstep. It's happening just next week. It's time we sort of step up and take responsibility.
Jack, thank you very much indeed for coming in today. And I know you haven't finished filming, have you? You're going to continue filming in Glasgow. 2 more episodes still to make.
That's it, yeah, in Glasgow later this week.
Right up to the end. Thank you very much. And A Seat at the Table is out on YouTube from today.
Today, it launches today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in and telling us a bit about it. Thanks, Jack.
Do stay with us. The headlines are coming right up.